the podcast, the Wellness Talk, and you know already, right? I am Glenda Polo, and I am today with great company. Honestly, this is my second podcast in English, and for me, it's an honor, honestly, to have here two great friends that I know that their story will inspire a lot of people. So I have the pleasure to have with me Bakul Patel and Greg San. So with that, first of all, I really want to say thank you. Thank
Happy to
you.
be here.
Yeah, thank you because it was like an instant yes as soon as I asked both of you to be part of this podcast. But honestly, I am very grateful because I know that this topic is very personal. And to be here in front of the camera and share this with anyone that is going to be watching this podcast, I know that it means a lot. So thank you so much. I know that this is very personal, and I appreciate that your openness, right, to share this with everyone, because I know that everyone that is watching this episode will be very inspired. So welcome.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Glad to be here.
Okay, so let me start with a question for both of you. Can you introduce yourself and share a little bit about you, but beyond the bike, beyond the ride? Who is Baku?
Okay, so I'll start.
Yeah.
I'm Bakul Patel. I've known Glenda and for, I don't know, maybe now
Well,
12 years. I was going to say 15 years. See, after some time, memory doesn't work. And yeah, about me, I have two nieces and I live in San Francisco. And I love it. Yeah. And I like biking. I know you said we can't talk about that, but
and Greg, tell us about you.
I'm Greg Sand. I have known Glenda for the same amount of time. I think maybe 13, 14 years. And I also live in San Francisco and have two nieces. Beyond the bike, I do love to cook and I love to travel. So.
That's good. Okay, so how did you first meet, and how did riding together became part of your shared story?
okay. You want to start, Greg?
I guess.
Yeah.
So I moved here I was living in LA, and I moved here from, I think in 2010, and pretty much within a month or two, through a friend I met, Bakul, and we became close friends within a month or two. And that was 2010, and the first ride I signed up for was by myself, was for the 2011 ride. Through an old friend in LA. And one of the big reasons for me doing the ride was right before I moved to LA, right before I moved to San Francisco from LA, within the same week, I got diagnosed HIV positive through a routine testing truck that was outside of the bars in West Hollywood. And it came as a shock. And following couple days later, I went to a counseling session at the Los Angeles Gay and Lesbian Center, which is one of the two organizations that combine to do the AIDS LifeCycle. And within the same week of the diagnosis, I also got a promotion to move to San Francisco. So my life was just turned upside down, but I knew I had to say yes to that promotion and just get out of there. But revisiting LA, my friend from LA asked me to join his team and bike from San Francisco down to Los Angeles. And I think it was the 545 miles.
Mm-hmm.
I knew Bakul at the time, but I think his initial response was, hell no, but I support you.
Are you crazy?
That's very true.
And a mutual friend of ours was going to do the ride with me. He backed out at the last minute, which made the actual experience very tough. But I met new people, and then Bakul joined the following year, and I'm sure he can talk about his experience there. But that's how we heard of it, and that's how I got into it.
Yeah. So for me, I had just moved to San Francisco. I think it was late 2009. I had moved here. I was living in LA at the same time. Greg and I did not know each other in LA at all, actually. And I moved here because I started to like San Francisco more. I was consulting up here, so I would fly back and forth every week. And then I kind of, post college life, I was like, I kind of like it here in San Francisco. I had very few friends at the time, but my work was what brought me out here, right? The industry was just better. I'm in pharma, and that's what brought me out here. But shortly after meeting Greg, and both of us were in pharma at the time. Greg is not now, but at the time we were both in pharma, and we really connected and became friends, right? But Greg is right. That first year, I supported him doing the ride by donating money, because part of the ride is also we raise funds that go, as Greg said, to the Gay and Lesbian Center in Los Angeles, and then also half the funds go to the San Francisco Gay and Lesbian Center.
Okay.
So the money, it's not even a little bit of money. You have to raise like $2,500 each rider, and so part of that money not only goes to funding and supporting the ride, but it goes to testing, it goes to resources, it goes to education, it goes to all these things that oftentimes people don't have the resources to do that. So that's part of, we put our work in with our body by going 545 miles in 7 days, but it's for a reason. We're raising money for a cause. So as Greg said, that first year, I said, here's some money. I will support you with the money, but I'm not going to do it. I think after hearing how much of an impact this ride has and how much it really just changes people's lives, because even on the ride they say like you're whatever you are for 51 weeks of the year. You're an engineer 51 weeks of the year, but for 1 week you're a rider, and it really does. It's a lot of work, but it changes your life. And I think seeing Greg do that the first ride and how much just work goes into it and how much you change, you're raising so much money, like $16 million as an organization to raise is a lot of money. You see that. And that's what motivated me to ride with Greg the next, so he'd already ridden. For me, it took a little bit of effort.
It was
but honestly,
next year.
The first time I rode, I had not, and I had not even ridden a bike at that time when we were doing training rides. Like I didn't have a helmet. Greg was like, let's go buy a bike. Zero.
Oh yeah.
Like
I didn't have a bike either. So the year before I'd gone through it, and then I was like, okay, so we'll do the same thing, but we're doing it. I mean, I think it was just the two of us that second year, right?
100%. Yeah.
Oh my God! So I didn't knew that you were no bike at all.
Some of my first training rides, like I got the bike with Greg. I didn't even know how to clip in or anything like that, right? And we would do training rides, and Greg's like, "You need to get a helmet." And I was like, I didn't even have a helmet. But so for me, the motivation, because some people will do it, they're really athletic, they're into biking. For me, the motivation was not to be a biker. I was really doing it for the cause. And for my friend who, was HIV positive, and I just saw all these resources, and I'm like, I want to do this ride. This is really cool and empowering. And so that's why, and obviously now he's done it 4 times, I've done it 4 times. There's been years where I've done it that he hasn't done it, but there's been different capacities
the most
of
recent
years.
One he did.
Yeah. So
I watched him finish the ride, but
yeah.
You were done
in
the ride.
Not that day, no.
Okay, so I know that you already talked a little bit, but for people that are right now watching the podcast who might not be familiar, right, with the aid ride, and I know that can you describe a little bit more exactly what is the ride itself, how that is? Okay. And I know that you mentioned that is to raise and like fundraising money, right? But can you explain a little bit more like what is that ride?
Yeah, I guess I'll try to remember as many details. So what was it? 2011, so 15 years ago we joined it. And so it is a 545 mile, 7-day long ride southbound from San Francisco to Los Angeles. So there's a couple of days that are at almost or even over 100 miles, but it totals 545. There is, in order to do the ride, you have to fundraise $3,000. I think they recently raised it to $3,500. The ride currently has been disbanded into 2 different smaller rides that are separate fundraising organizations. There's a 2-day ride from San Francisco to Guerneville, and then there's a 2-day ride, I think, from, and this could be inaccurate, but it's from somewhere like Santa Barbara to LA. Mm-hmm. So they've split up the organizations, and I don't know if that's temporary. I don't know whether they are going to design a new, longer ride, but the ride did go for, I mean, when we joined it, It was called the San Francisco AIDS Ride. It's at the sorry, it was called the AIDS LifeCycle, and I guess it used to be called the AIDS Ride in the 90s and early 2000s. It started, I want to say, somewhere around late 90s, early 2000s. No, sorry, late 80s, early 90s. Like
exactly. Early 90s is when it started.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So,
and
yeah.
the idea behind it was really to bring awareness to HIV/AIDS as an issue, right? Reduce stigma, raise money to help people diagnose, but also medication, all kinds of things like that. Yeah, just as a community to do that, right? So that's why it started. And it 30 years in, right?
California AIDS Ride, and
that was
then
the first.
California AIDS Ride, and then AIDS LifeCycle.
Yeah,
that was the name. Because throughout the years, we watched. They do each evening. They do sort of an assembly at dinner, and the early days of the ride, they're kind of educating you, because I think at any given year, like a third of the people are new. But there's a lot of returning riders. What the age went from, I think the minimum is 16 or 18, up to, I think somebody was like 87, 88.
Oh, wow. 87?
Yeah. And so there's a wide variety, but in general, like Nicole said, it's reducing stigma, and we might get into this later. Times are hugely different now than they were then.
When they started the mission itself.
Yeah.
So I think the mission is working, and especially at that time to be around the first couple of years, I did not really. There's a certain night where you go, you have dinner. I think it's the third night or something, Paso Robles, and the first couple of years I was with friends at the table, and they were like, "Please stand up if you are comfortable identifying as HIV positive," and I was like, "Hell no, I'm not doing that." The first year for sure. The second year I hemmed and hawed and told my friends, "God, I almost did it." And then I think the third year, which was 2014, I had our group of friends who did the ride was probably 6 or 7 people, and I was pretty comfortable by that point. And I did stand up, and people were proud of me. I was proud of myself. And some people came up to me that I didn't know, and they were like, "We saw you stood up," and I was afraid to. And I think I'm going to do it next year. So, yeah, scary at first, but then very rewarding. So, and that was 12 years ago. So,
exactly.
But.
Yeah. So what does really mean to you, Drake, that ride from San Francisco to Lausanne?
Well, like Bakul said, it means it's a physical toll on your body. There were years with, oh my gosh, sunburn, chafing, everything. Not to get too personal, but it's just there are all sorts of things. But what it meant to me, at first you're told, how many hours am I going to be on a bike? There's no
every single day for a week, right?
A week,
7
yeah.
days.
Yes.
I mean, we're talking the shortest day was about 5 hours with stops. The longest day is 8 to 10 hours. And you can chat with your friends, but if you're not the same speed as your friend, and often you are alone, it's you and your brain and you and your mind. And I think it was a beautiful way for me to turn this diagnosis into a moment to connect with California, and just you see almost all seasons, right? You almost see sleet and hail in the mornings in Northern California, and then one day it was 108 and we were up.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that's during summer.
Yep.
Paso Robles, it was 109.
It's done in summer. It's it's the first week in June usually, and you go from 47 degrees with mist in the morning to 108 some days, some afternoons. But yeah, like to your question, it really allowed me to connect with each part of the landscape of California, and just in a way that I lived in LA for 5 years, and it was nice, beaches and sun, but never really connected with like the landscape, and just fell in love with it. And just who could want anything more than living in California and being able to just ride through it in person, up front and personal. So yeah, that was my biggest takeaway from riding.
And for you,
So
Paco?
for me, I think I really learned that, okay, I'm not the most athletic person, but for me, like, it's how strong your mind is. There's been times like I've had, this is also a supported ride. So we have to tent as we go along,
Oh,
which
yeah, that's true.
for me, I'm
For Paco?
not a camper. I don't like tenting, but it's something that like you just do, right? You're in a tenting community with a bunch of people and they're all like-minded doing the same thing, right? But I had a tent mate once, and this is when I was on the corporate team for Gilead, and
Oh, okay.
he had trained so much. He was riding to work every day, and weekends was train, right? 2 days of training. And like, for me, I was like, okay, he's like good. Like he's going to be good, but he didn't have the mental capacity, right? So like by like day 2, even in the morning when we're putting the tent together, he's like, okay, I'm going to sag, which means you're going to be stopping and getting picked up in a car and just taken, right?
Oh.
And of course, because if somebody has injuries or something, then you do that, right? But it wasn't like, for him, it wasn't like, oh, I'm going to just try to do to the next rest stop or try. No, it was like, he already had the mental.
It was day 3, right?
Yeah, like by day
early.
3. And he already was like mentally not able to go.
Oh.
And so I think for me, even though like, because your body hurts, everything hurts,
Can
right?
imagine, like,
Just getting
even-
back on the seat is like, oh my gosh, I don't even want to get back on the seat. But like mentally, I was like, what's another 20 miles? I can do it. So like when my mind is like able to like break it off into little pieces like that, I realize that like I'm a stronger rider than a lot of people. Because even like one year, this is a year that Greg did not do it with me, but day 1 was raining, full on rain from San Francisco. Out of my team of 7, I was the only one that finished that day. Everybody else just sagged out because yes, I was soaked. My bike was all dirty. It was a mess. But like my mental state was like, what's a little rain? I can do this. It's not a problem, right? And so I think for me, it was learning that like sometimes your mind is a lot stronger than your body, even to a detriment. Because at some point I was like popping a lot of ibuprofen. I'm like, this knee is not working that well, but it's okay. A little bit of ibuprofen and I'll. So maybe not the best. So I'm like, I can finish this ride and deal with the knee later, right? Not the best idea, but my mental capacity. And then the other thing I really learned was just the way you meet people. Because even now, there's people that I've known, like friends of ours that I've known, but when someone says like, oh, how do you know Greg? Or how do you know Greg? It's like really that bonded me to those friends so much that I'm like, I may have known them for a year before that, but I'm like, oh, we did the AIDS LifeCycle together. That was what really got us. That was what got us to become really, really good friends, because you're kind of, there's ups and downs, right? Like you're so excited about things together, but also some days you're like, oh my God, I just do not want to sleep on a tent. My back hurts or whatever it is. So you're bonded in this way of, there's so many ups and downs, right? And you're supporting each other.
And I can imagine that it will go for some deep conversations, right?
Totally, because you're together on a bike, and even with strangers that you don't know, because sometimes we don't bike, especially Greg. He's 6'4" and I'm 5'5". We're not biking at the same rate. Yeah. He's gone, and I'm, sometimes he's like, oh, I'm competitive and I want to bike, and I'm like, nope, I just want to finish. That's what I'm trying to do, right? Yeah. And so we're at different rates, but you meet people, right? And sometimes you're laughing, sometimes you're crying, sometimes you're motivating each other. There's a huge hill, and you're like, you got it, girl, go. Or somebody telling you from behind, you got it, go. And that just is like what you need to finish that hill, right? And so that's what I learned. The 2 takeaways for me is just the bonds that I created are like really strong. And yeah, it's about your mind for activities a lot of times.
Exactly.
Yeah, the mental thing.
The mental, yeah, I cannot even imagine.
Yeah.
Was there a specific moment during the ride when the purpose, it will really hit you? That you were like, oh my God, I got it.
I have a few. You want to go?
Yeah, why don't you say a few, and maybe it'll jog my memory, because my answer is there's a few.
Yeah. Okay. So even from the very first day, when they have us all in this stadium, there's 3,000 riders ready to go out, right? And they bring a bicycle that has no rider out, and they're like, this is the riderless rider. It's supposed to represent like all the riders who can't be here today because they're dead from HIV/AIDS, right? So like that was really emotional. Just to start.
I would be crying even before.
It's an empty bicycle, and they get you up at 5 a.m. and they really pull at your heartstrings, don't they?
Glenda, I cried so much. Like I didn't even just lose water weight from sweat. It was from crying. But that, and then there's a candlelight visual night as well, where we're all at the beach in Santa Barbara, or is that? It was the beach, and we put the
Yes.
we have candles, and we light candles for
The
people
sixth,
that we remember.
Yeah, the sixth night we do.
It was sixth night.
Ventura Beach.
Ventura Beach, yeah. And then we put it out in the water, and that's supposed to represent. Of course, it's very beautiful. All these candles are in the water, but it's also representing a person that's each person knows. Could be one person, more than one person, but that's what it represents, and that. Of course, I start to cry during that time.
Yeah.
Actually, one year was actually funny because after 4 times, you do these things over and over.
And you're ready.
It gets me. It gets me every time. I still cry. But one year, Greg had said to our friend Paula, he said, "You don't have to cry. Like I'm. It's not a big deal. I'm here." And she goes, "This is not for you. This is for a friend of mine." And so, the tears turned into laughter too. So some years, you laugh, you cry, but it's very emotional. There are times that you get really emotional, and I get emotional too, but of course you're laughing, you're crying, you're feeling all the highs and lows of everything, especially with your body.
all in one day, sometimes within the same hour.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah, though, for me, I guess I think in terms of the community as you go through the ride, particularly of the 4 years I did it in 2011, 2012, 2014, and 2016. And the most memorable was 2014 because, there was a point on that ride where we were at, the very beginning. I woke up that Sunday morning and I was like, I don't want to do this. I'll skip it. I'm going to phone it in. I've done it twice. You've done your job. And I was like, I could do it. The money's been donated. It's still going to a great cause.
That would be okay. I can skip it.
I think it was just I was tired and I didn't want to get up that early. I'm not quite a morning person, but I'm so glad I said, no, you're getting up and you're going to Cow Palace. That's where it starts. And that year, within the first 2 or 3 miles, we met a couple of friends from the UK, and they're still our friends.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and that never would have happened. But the turning point, for me, is usually about the 4th day, where the first few days are really challenging, and and quite literally, I think day 3 and 4 are quite hilly. Once you're toward the end of day 4 and you've done, what do they call it? Day 3 is the quad buster. I don't know the elevations.
Because you're just doing a lot of climbing, so it just gets your...
Yeah. And day 4 are the evil twins, so there's basically 2 quad busters in one day. And I think that's also 100 or 97 miles or something.
On day 2, you do 109 miles, so you hit your century on day 2. So this is after that. So, I mean, for me, that first year, I had never done 100 miles. That was the first time. In training, obviously, you get close to it, but you wait to get to that 100 miles on that day, and it's like, okay, I've already done a century. Now what's?
Exactly.
Yeah. Day 2 is a century. Day 2 is I would say probably the most mundane day because it's pretty flat, but it's long, and but I guess from a emotional turning point perspective, I would say the table thing, stand and identify yourself, and that's sort of where I'm like, you either stand up or you don't. And that's the whole point of all the money is it's going for support and emotional support, health support, but like that's when it kind of hit me. I was like, it worked on me. I mean, I stood up, so even my own stigma was lessened. I was worried about other stigma about me, but like, I think I realized you had to get rid of your own stigma. You needed to, and like Bakul would say, like, we still have friends that we've known since 2014. I mean, I think I can think of 5 people that some of which I see every day. A couple of our friends live in San Francisco, and we'll be seeing them later today. And we've known them for 12 years. Yeah. Friends have moved away. Our friend in the UK, we probably try to see her once or twice a year.
Yeah.
We go to the UK to visit her. She comes here. Another friend of ours moved to Atlanta with his partner this past week, but I know I'll be visiting him all the time because of the connection we built.
And and like to that point, I think what I was getting at is like, these are people that I may have known before, but you really bond on the ride. So then they become like your really, really good friends, because it's just like being in that situation where you're doing a lot of exercise. You're going to see the best of people and the worst of people. So like, I know that for these friends of mine, like if something's really tough in my life, which has happened post AIDS ride, right? I can go to like Greg or these friends and say, hey, this is what's going on, and get really good advice. They've seen like me after I've waken up in a tent and my back is hurting, and I'm telling them, don't talk to me. So they've seen that side of me. And so like, you know, they're there to support, because we've had like the friendship has just grown like that. Yeah.
You know that now that you mentioned 2014, that was the year that I knew about the ride, because I remember when I started work, a couple of coworkers were training for that. I remember they were like, no, talking about the training for the A ride. I was like, what is that? Like, because I just recently moved from Puerto Rico and I never heard about that. And when they explained me, I was like, what? Are you crazy? Like, a week? Like, that's insane. I was like, in my mind, I was like, oh my God, like, that's crazy. And being like, even like thinking about like, you take a vacation week off to be riding for that cause.
Yeah.
It's not only like all the different things, it's the fact that you are taking from your vacation.
And it's not a vacation.
That is not a vacation. To doing that, I was like, oh my God, you are the most amazing people. And then I met Bakul, and I think that Ravi was like, oh, Bakul is going. And I'm like, oh my God, like I didn't knew like so many people now that we know that are doing that. I remember that we were like trying to see like how everyone was doing throughout the ride and everything, and trying to track people. I remember that I was tracking Bakul I think that the next one, I was like, oh my God, I remember because you share your life, and I was like, okay, Bakul got in this place. Okay. He's okay. He's making it. So that would be okay.
Oh yeah. The location.
And funny enough, Glenda, about that, like that's the thing I also learned about that ride. Like for me, I didn't even know how to change a tire before that. Right. I mean, you learn this stuff, or like you're riding with Greg, and Greg would help me if a tire went out, right? On training rides. But on the actual ride, when you're like not supported, you know, it's such a community that I remember like you just are on the side, and everybody who's riding by you are, you need help, you need help, you need help. Exactly. You actually have to put your hand up and say no, because somebody's already helping me with my tire. So because everybody asks. It's such a close community that nobody wants anybody to be in trouble, right? Like it's so supported. But I've done it. So unlike Greg, I did it every other year, because it took me about a year to forget all the pain and then remember all the good times.
Yeah.
So I did 2012, 14, 16, and 18, right? And in different capacities, right? First year I did it with my friend Greg, and I'm like, okay, I'm here to support. And then the next year we did it with a corporate team with Gilead. And that year we had Bayer riders too, like people from my work did it. So I got to see that. And I always just remember, like, even though I'm riding, like people surprise me. Like Greg had said, there's a rider who's 80 years old. They don't even have the ability to ride on a regular bike. They're on like the flat bike, and they're recumbent, and they're going slow, but they're doing it. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this 80-year-old is doing every mile of the ride, right? If somebody like is doing that, I'm gonna do it, because my donors donated to me. I'm gonna finish every mile and take the pain, right? I don't care. But that, and even as you said, we had some coworkers do it. Later, I was like, oh, hold on. I did the math, and you were pregnant. You were like 5 months pregnant when you did the ride. So this is the stories where people, I'm like, that's amazing.
I remember that coworker, my friend, when she finished the ride, she was like, I'm pregnant. I'm like, wait, what?
And you did a ride all the way to LA.
Wow.
Your baby also did the ride.
Exactly.
The youngest person ever to do the AIDS life cycle. Wow.
So that's crazy. So I know that you were talking about the stigma, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what are those misconceptions that are still up to date that you wish that more people understood?
That's a good question. Very, very thankfully, medical advances have allowed a steep learning curve for the stigma to not fade into nothing, but to fade slowly. But since you're asking about I still encounter on dating apps, etc., some stigma. Someone would say, well, is it okay? I'm sorry, I'm not comfortable with that. So it still happens, but I'm talking about like a 95% decrease in that kind of stigma.
Yeah.
But at first, it was tough. You get blocked, you get dumped, you get things happen. But because we're in 2026, some of the things that have really helped are the advancement of PrEP, which is a medication that HIV negative individuals can take on a daily basis to lower their chances by nearly 100.0%, almost.
Oh, wow.
Like there have been studies, there's been zero transmission in many of these studies, and it's really been taken in well by the general public because the comfort level of folks that I've had encounters with, and meetings with, the stigma is almost gone. But I will say that the fact remains. I mean, there's the new ride is called, I think the Northern California one's called Cycle to Zero. So I think the new thing is no new cases on them. Mm-hmm. And I think despite all of despite the increase of PrEP, which is it's pre-exposure prophylaxis. So it's a pill developed. Originally, I think it was developed by Gilead, but now there's a bunch of other types of drugs that are becoming more same amount of efficiency, but lower toxicity, because sometimes there's side effects.
It comes with side effects.
And so as an HIV positive person, so I take daily medications post-exposure. And those drugs are getting better and better to the point now where they're doing injectables, monthly injectables. So you only have to think about it once a month.
Yours is like more.
Mine is a daily pill,
okay.
But the littlest daily pill. It used to be multiple, because it was multiple drugs and they were made by different manufacturers. Today it's a tiny little. There's 3 drugs in it, and it's a tiny little pill. And one thing that I didn't think about when I was younger with the stigma is, you know what? Now there's 9 pills.
The number of pills have gotten. Right. I was like, just one? I have like my multivitamin.
Multivitamin. I got my allergy pill. I got all these.
Ashwagandha. I have a whole label of pills. Exactly.
Oh yeah. I think I was 26 when I got the diagnosis, and it's like, what I wish I had known. It's like, okay. I wish I'd known that the stigma was going to go away with time. And I think I remember when I went to that doctor's office, the therapy the next day, because they had to confirm the test.
Oh.
And I just remember sitting there and I saw this guy an attractive guy, and I was just like, I'm never going to be able to say hi to a person like that because it's never going to happen for me. And they're going to be afraid of me. But the opposite is true, I've had successful relationships after that, and now it's kind of like, it's not for me, but that's another story. But just the fact that that's not even a problem in my life is a testament to this ride. And
yeah,
like I sometimes Bakul will yell at me. I forgot to take my pills today. He'll yell at me, and I'm like, well, I'm sorry, I don't think about it. I have to. So now it's the blood pressure pill that I have to take. So
can you take both of these?
Exactly. Yeah. So for me, like I think the great thing about this ride, as Greg said, is the new ride is called Cycle to Zero. It's all about no new transmission and no cases. Okay. But I think the one thing that we have to be very grateful is like, as Greg said, we have so many different options, right? Like, not only does he have an option of 10 different pills, right? Taking PrEP, I have options as well, right? I can do an injectable, I can do pill. There's different options, and that didn't exist like 10 years ago. That's new. That's all because of pharma, right? But in addition to that, we're very lucky in America to have that ability. I think a lot of countries, and you go outside of the United States, there still is a lack of education, and they don't have it as great as us, where the medication is available, it's free, it's ready, right? So there are transmission cases still. Not necessarily in America, but we have that issue, and that still needs to.
So right now they have medication for the people that already have the HIV, but also have ones to
Prevent.
that happen.
Yes.
Yep, exactly. And I think when you go outside of this country, if you go to third world countries, they may not always get those PrEP medication, right? So that still is an issue that worldwide we don't have this issue solved. It's first world countries have solved this problem.
Yeah, and I think I would need to do more research on the newest one because a 2-day ride is probably digestible. Funny story, a couple of years ago, like maybe 2 or 3 years ago, me, Bakul, and our other friend, the one who moved to Atlanta, decided we're gonna get our bikes, we're gonna dust them off and start riding again.
Ride.
It's like spring 2023 or 2024. I spearheaded it by just taking a solo ride to the Golden Gate Park, and I clipped in. It was just nothing. But so
not 545 miles.
For those people who aren't like cyclists, so we didn't explain that you physically are clipped in, mechanically clipped into your bike. So
yes,
so that
you're one with the bike.
You're one with the bike, so that it's not just pushing down with your quads; it's pulling up with your hamstrings. It's more efficient to be clipped in. So I'm clipped in for the first time in years, and I just ate it. And I had a bruise.
I forgot how to bike.
I had a scar on my knee for.
And then we didn't bike after that. We were like, we're done. We're done.
I don't think the other two even got that.
We didn't even start.
We got our bikes fixed up, so the bike shops made money. But
and now for me, I'm like, okay, the Peloton's easier. I'm not going to get injured on the Peloton.
So
exactly.
I'll be okay.
But I think a lot of people who did the ride are still avid cyclists. So we have a friend who still bikes to and from the train station to get to work, but I'm now this is going to be a disappointing, and I'm more of an e-bike person now.
And one thing,
can they do the e-bike?
One thing to know is they do not allow electric, like no e-bikes.
No
you have to do each mile yourself.
And what's the other? No electric bikes. And I was freaked out because I was like, no headphones, and they're like, no, absolutely not. Yeah. You can't. So, but that's to what we were saying when you're Bakul said mentally. Yes, you just have to have. There are some moments where you're like, oh my god, because like 15 miles to the next stop, and you're like, how am I going to get through 50 miles? But you do it. Your brain finds some way.
I mean, that's also what I was saying. Like sometimes you will see somebody and you're like, they are going slow, but they're just going to finish it. And their mind is, you can tell they're in pain, but they're just going to finish it. Just go around. They're like, go around. Just I'm going to do my own thing.
Yeah.
And that always just.
They're completely determined.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So training for that ride. I know that is intense, right? But how do you prepare, as you mentioned, physically and mentally? How that training was looking like for you? Because I know that it's not only like going into the bike and going and do like 20 miles, whatever. Like to train is like that mental part.
I can say for me, to be honest, I probably would never have done it if Greg had not done the ride before or I had known someone. So for him to have done the ride solo for the first year, that I would never have done that because mentally I could not even, like buying all the clothes and everything. I had no idea about what this sport involves, right? Exactly. So having someone that could, but cool, this is the bike shop, this is what you need to get, this is what you need to do. You clip in, what? You clip in, what is this? Like having someone help guide me with all that process was really, really helpful, to a point where the stressful part was, oh gosh, I have to just raise money. That's the part that's stressful because I had someone to help me, right? No, don't worry, we'll go on a ride. If the tire gets flat, I can help you, So that was really helpful, but that took a lot of the mental part out for me. It was more just waking up early on a Saturday morning or a Sunday morning and starting slow, right? You go on a 20-mile bike ride, and then from there you move it up to a 30-mile bike ride, 40-mile bike, and just with friends, it's just like a bike ride. But yeah, you definitely have to sacrifice a lot of our weekends were very sacrificed. Meaning Friday, there was no going out. You have to get ready because you're going to be training on Saturday and Sunday, especially for like months beforehand. So we would start training in December, and the ride was in like June. So about 6 months of training.
The year.
And it's really the timing, because when you're working during the day, you don't have a lot of time during the weekdays to train. So you maybe start to do like some days you'd be like, okay, we have to cut it and just go on a short bike ride in the evening on the weekdays, or thank God there's a gym, because you can just go and bike at the gym and get some training in. But really, Saturdays and Sundays are your big training days, because to get all those miles in, it's like you need 8 hours on a Saturday and a Sunday.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a big time commitment.
Well, the year I did it, the first year I did it alone, I think the longest ride I did was like 37 miles. It was really hard to do it alone because it was boring and it was cold, and I wasn't used to I was used to Southern California.
Yeah.
And I think the longest one, some foggy ride down in Half Moon Bay, and a couple of 15 to 30 mile rides elsewhere in the Bay Area. But I don't think I put more than 200 miles, 300 miles on the bike. And then I was expected to do 545 in a week. And I just did it. And I think it was the mental thing.
Yeah.
But it's different because practice rides are unsupported. They do an official supported practice ride in each of the cities once. It's called Day on the Ride. So there's people who are so freaked out about this that they're like, I need an example.
Okay. So they can...
Yeah.
And they have so there's not only the riders, right? I think the other part of this whole community is that there's this whole volunteer side, right? There's people that maybe have ridden before or haven't ridden before but want to support too. So they'll deal with the food or grabbing your gear and putting it in the truck, or being a leader to help with these training rides. There's this whole side of okay, even if you can't ride or don't want to ride, you can support the community, ways, right? Which I think is almost even more respectable, because for me, at least I'm riding. I'm I get to ride, and as Greg said, you get to see California in this beautiful way. No, there's some people that just stand out there and tell riders, go left at this direction all day in the hot sun in 109-degree weather. And it's that's really putting up, that's volunteering.
Yeah,
that's work. So, I mean, it's the whole community is just really amazing.
Yeah.
So what role really did emotional resilience play during the toughest days of the ride? But you need to have a lot of resilience.
Yeah. I mean, I would say what's the first day is 88 miles. That in and of itself is pretty long, but the excitement of it being the first day, I think, is fine. It gets me through. But that second day, when I think there's a handful of segments that are more than 20 miles, and that's what resiliency matters. And I think I was reminded of how I got through it. I think it's just because I slowed down. I didn't get anxious about I was if I'm gonna finish this mentally, I need to pick a pace that I can sustain for a long time, and just stick to that pace and not worry about those miles.
Yeah. And I think for me, it was not thinking about this being an end goal. For example, for the day, it's oh, we got to get into this camp, and I there were days where I was just so over it that I'm just gonna finish and go, and then you're back at camp. And you're what if, all my friends are out biking and I'm just sitting here and I'm bored. I've charged my phone, I'm bored. So then I had to part of it is realizing it's not just to go and finish, right? So maybe you go hang out at the rest stop and enjoy. And like I said, there's lots of volunteers, but in addition, at the rest stop, they have fun things to do, and there's volunteers that put on little shows and stuff. Yeah. And so it's okay, but cool. This is not a ride that you're just trying to race through. Why don't you just sit, enjoy, go meet some people, chill, it's not a big deal. You're all going to the same place at the end, right?
Exactly.
No big deal. Go have fun.
There was even the people who put on the costumes. There was even a group because I think that there's riders and then there's roadies. So if it's usually most years about 3,000 people total. There's about 2,200 riders and then 800 or 900 roadies. So it's basically almost a 2-to-1. There's almost one person dealing with every 2 riders. I mean, so there's a lot of interactions. You have someone supporting you, but particularly rest stop 4 is the final stop before your last leg, and then you're at camp. The day is over. So they have to be the most exuberant. They have to be the most entertaining, and with that comes the good.
Everyone.
Oh yeah, I mean, so the people who got onto that team are usually exciting people, great dancers, sometimes great looking people who look good shirtless, so that you're riding by and you see the hot guy and the rest stop.
I have to stop.
Yeah. So It's all the little moving parts keep you motivated. And I forgot about and those people that just stand there and say with the arrow. I mean, like that's got to be.
Oh my gosh!
Talk about resilience
all day.
Exactly. Yeah.
What, and I want to add to that. There's one little town that we stop in, and it was called Bradley, and like to me that was the most exciting, not most exciting, but one of the really exciting things is because this little town, they have like one school, and they're like, please don't use our bathrooms in this town because if this many people use the bathroom, it's gonna mess up the whole city's like bath. So they have to put porta potties and everything, but all the kids write like a letter. So that night in when you have dinner, they give you a letter, and it's like they're little kids, so it's like a funny letter, but it's like, thank you so much for writing. But what they do is they like, you can get the normal food if you need to, but they're like, oh, we'll just have like a hot dog and burger thing. And all the kids, their parents all come out and they just say, thank you for writing, right? And the money that they raise from just that one event every year funds all of their arts and social programs for the whole year for that school. Wow. So those kids are like, and to me, it's like, even the letters, just reading them, because you get a different letter every year. The kids are just like so grateful that like this community comes into this little town, and that always gets me because I'm thinking like these kids, like they grew up not having any of this stigma, right? Their parent, like it's like they see the good side of like this community coming in. It helps us, it helps them, and they just grow up in a way that is like they never even had the chance to have stigma about this disease. All they know is like these people come in and this is great. We love them and they love us, and this is great. And I'm like, I wish that could be just everywhere in the whole world.
Yeah. I don't know how many kids. I mean, there's only maybe a couple hundred kids in the whole school.
The whole town probably only has like,
I think it was less than 3,000.
Yeah, it's a little town.
It was 300.
300. Right. Yeah, it's not 3,000. It's
You're
like
right.
300.
300
that live in this little town.
And so maybe 100 kids, because it was
at the most.
At
right?
the most.
Yeah.
But couple thousand riders came through, and I think it was what, $10 for, but they would raise thousands.
And now it's a thing. All the riders are like, I mean, of course you don't have to, because not all the riders have money, right? So sometimes they're like, I can't afford it. That's fine. But most of the riders are like, okay, we're going to bring money and we're going to support the school this year. And they know to have like less food, and they do that. And then I just think it's amazing.
The first year I didn't, the second year I brought cash.
But even like along the ride, right? There's a lot of boring parts, Greg, but there are parts where people are just sitting on a lawn chair and they're just like, thank you so much for riding. And you'll see posters of like memories of people who have passed away or whatever, and they just thank you for doing that. So that also is motivating as you're riding along. That's the part that kind of pushes me a little bit too.
I would be like crying.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Oh, there's lots of tears. Don't worry.
We need an IV just for my crying.
Yes.
So what kind of support? I know that you mentioned about a community and everything, but what is the support that you receive from the LGBT community or from any other unexpected thing?
Just for doing the ride, or just I would say my employer at the time that I was doing it, the CEO of the company was like, whatever you donate, whatever you get from anyone at this company, I'm gonna match it.
Oh wow.
And it wasn't like a big corporation. It was just I mean, that was a company that that had moved me up to San Francisco. Oh. That was impressive. And then of course, friends and family who donate. Mm-hmm. And sometimes the amount of the donation is interesting because you're just like, oh, I didn't know I knew that person. I didn't know they cared that much, or maybe they just have money, but some people were giving $100 plus, and sometimes you get those surprise donations that you needed to get the 3,000 threshold. But I think the one year, by the time I think we both hit 5,000 at least one of the years. Yeah. And then some people go beyond that.
I think for me, especially having done it like 4 times in different capacities, like whether it's a corporate capacity or just, me and Greg doing it together or whatever, I've seen like every side of support, right? Like where one year it was with, when I was on Evan's team, right? And he had gone to all of his clients and stuff and said, basically, okay, if you want like a logo on the shirt, we're going to have custom shirts and everything, donate. And to see that from a corporate level of like people giving, obviously if you're on huge corporate team, Gilead, you're going to be getting a lot of support, right? They'll have camera crews following you and pictures and everything. Oh. But if you're like individuals, the support is different. It's going to be from your friends and family, but there's all kinds of different support. So that was really interesting to see that it's a wide spectrum of support of how you're getting supported, right? Or even on an individual level, right? Like I said, when you get a flat tire and somebody's like, let me help you, that's like a different kind of support, right?
Exactly, that you were
Yeah.
like, I really need this.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and that word, the word support can mean a lot of things, because I guess I answered in terms of money, but you're right. Like I remember all those times with fixing the people were. We had to just thumbs up. We're good. We don't need any more help, because our tires would be flat and they'd be fixed almost within like 10, 15 minutes, because someone was there to help.
Or sometimes even emotional support when you're on that hill and you're like, oh my gosh, I have so much left, and there's just somebody next to you that's like, you can do it, or you say that to somebody and it's like, we got it together. We got it together. Like, and then you're done and you can high five or whatever, and it's just some stranger you don't even know.
Exactly.
Yeah. The first year I remember a lot of random support that kind of comes back to me now. I think the quad buster, I rode alone. There was no team. And I did not have the fancy gear that a lot of these teams had. And so we had fun with fashion in the years to come. But the first year I was wearing like some Target stuff, and but I remember there was these really athletic guys and girls that had finished the hill. They were helping those who needed help
they go back down
run
and
back
help.
down and push toward the
Wow.
top of the hill. And there was a specific there was a drag queen who was based out of West Hollywood. Her name was Ginger Brulee.
Oh my God, how many?
This woman was so inspiring. This drag queen was so inspiring. And at the top, every day she rode along with the ride, and she picked the hardest part of every day. And she got into full drag, sometimes in 90-degree heat.
Wow.
And waved and
said you can do it.
And said you can do it. Gave us high fives, and she did it for Matt. She did it, I think, through the end of through the last year.
Wow.
But
I have a funny one for support too. The first year, so I didn't even have 7 days of different clothing. Toward that, after ride 2, I had that, right? So my plan was, okay, I'm gonna wash clothes, because they have a whole. Not everybody has it, so there's washing stations. But I remember the support I got was from this girl, and she's like, you cannot put that much soap in the bucket, because I was like, put that laundry in. I need a lot of soap because it's so gross and dirty. I've been writing all day. And she's like, no, a little goes a long way. And that was the support that I learned. Okay, because I was sitting there rinsing that soap out for an hour. And I was like, okay, you need a little bit of detergent, not a lot. Because I've never hand washed clothing. I've used machines all my life. But then I learned, you learn how to do it in the sink and all that.
There was that is like life at camp.
This is camping logistics that I never learned.
There was there's shower. So people are probably interested to know that there were shower trucks, and I thought they were pretty good.
Yeah. Definitely, you need a shower after biking all day.
Yeah, there were shower trucks. I thought they were pretty. The water was hot. There was good pressure, and I felt supported in that way. And then there'd be the race to get your stuff hung up and hoping the sun would hold to dry it by the next day.
Oh.
Finally, I think by the later years, we just went ahead and bought the 7 outfits. And the bags.
By the end, it's a system, right? You're like, this is Monday, this is Tuesday. Dirty clothes go into the Ziploc bag. So we knew how to do everything by the end. But that first 2 years, you're learning all that stuff, and you're helping other people that are like new on the ride, and they're like, oh, what do I do? Okay, this is what you need. Here's a bunch of extra Ziploc bags. Like, put all your dirty clothes in here so it doesn't get the clean clothes dirty. Because it's camping, so you have to kind of you teach too, and then you teach people.
Yeah.
That sounds very, very good.
Oh yeah. It's there's a whole life on the actual life in camp is a majority of the rides, so you learn the tricks.
Yeah. So how can the allies best support to get more AIDS awareness, but also the LGBT for all the people that are right now watching this and they want to be really a good ally, what they can do?
I would start with the websites locally for the San Francisco AIDS Foundation and the LA Gay and Lesbian Center. And I don't know if the Gay and Lesbian Center changed its name, but I would imagine without the AIDS life cycle happening anymore, finding other ways to fundraise. And then, I mean, and I'm really hoping that in the future they can do something for globally, because I think some of the money went globally, and then the recent cutting of US aid is probably going to cause a need for another ride to get that money, because I think we'll find a way, but I would say the websites and
like for me, I think the best way to be an ally, whether it's for HIV/AIDS community or LGBT plus community, is just really the awareness, right? Like understanding, like right now politically, like there's lots of things that are being taken away that maybe we've taken not advantage, we've taken this appreciation for granted, that now a lot of this funding is getting cut from a federal level or government level, or so I think just the awareness, that realizing that yes, we're a community, we still exist, and we still need resources. That's the best way to be an ally, and just being aware of politically what's going on.
Yeah.
And voting.
And voting, yes. And I think that, voting and peaceful demonstrations, because it's like, and those don't require any money. And I think one thing I've sort of, the stigma, I think I've almost overcorrected, because when I had felt the stigma as an HIV positive person, I think it really bled into my own personal politics. And I think if I had not become HIV positive, I think I was very different before. And I think I'm almost grateful for the fact that I'm a little bit more like, well, okay, I'm HIV positive, like I'm gonna be fine. There's medication, I'm all right. I live in the United States. But I think about like, someone who's a trans person, or so there's always another marginalized group that, we can't forget that now that
very true,
that we're LGBT Americans who are funded by something, doesn't mean that there's other marginalized groups. So maybe look beyond the AIDS life cycle.
Totally. I think that's the big part of the plus, right? It's LGBTQ plus, because there's always somebody that we can't forget. So it doesn't just stop, like even the ride is done right now, but it doesn't stop. We're always someone that we can be allies and be good allies.
And I'm glad that you mentioned about like voting, because I think that, and I remember when we moved here and we start receiving those ballots with so many propositions and everything, and I was like, oh my God, I need to sit, I need to understand. And sometimes I remember I reached to Greg like, Greg, what is your point of view of this proposition? Because, and I think that one thing is if we want to be allies, we need to be more aware, like what those propositions, what will be the impact in others. Because sometimes we only read the proposition on how it will impact me.
Exactly.
And not how it will impact others.
Yes.
And I think that that's where I think that we need, and I need to be also more conscious. Like when I read this, do I really get it, how we impact other people? And not just be like, oh, how we impact me as a woman, as a Latina, is like how I can impact other communities.
I mean, they always say like, put yourself in someone else's shoes, right? I think that's the most powerful thing ever, because we're all together in this, right? And so
and that's putting yourself in someone else's shoes, because the diagnosis with it was like, oh my God, I'm that person. But it went from that to, hey, let's think, let's look on the bright side of this. Like if something clicked, I was like, oh, this could happen to anyone. Just like homelessness could happen to anyone. So maybe I think differently than somebody about homelessness, because I'm like, I'm not homeless, but if I woke up one day and I was, that's why I think about their point of view. Yes, of course, the propositions there's a lot to read, but we've actually gotten into groups over the last few years where we just have like a wine and cheese night, and we sit at a table and we go through, and it's like, can someone explain this to me?
And just to discuss it.
Honestly, Tabia and I got now used to the fact that we need to read, we need to understand. It's not just like, oh, yes or no. Like it's really trying to understand. I remember like reaching to Bakul or Greg, like, oh, what is your take in this? Like, I honestly don't completely understand. Like, what can happen if I vote no or if I vote yes?
Yes.
And sometimes
I
it's phone a friend too, because I know like
Yeah.
for the education ones, like school board and stuff.
Yeah.
I'm gonna call someone. I have no idea.
We have to get educated.
Yeah, there
Yeah,
were
like,
some like I remember probably a couple of years ago that was something related to the to the public school here, and I know someone that works in the district,
See.
and I text her like, "Can you give me your point of view about
Nice.
this?" Because I really like I know that her as a person, I really know that she will be like giving me like, okay, these are the facts,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
That's exactly what will be the impact, right, in the schools and everything. And because I was telling Ravi, I don't know, I don't want just to vote yes or no
Exactly.
and then make a like an impact in the public system,
Yeah, exactly.
education in
Exactly.
here in the San Ramon area.
Yeah,
Exactly.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so what this whole experience teach you about yourself?
For me, like that, especially if I'm thinking that I can't do something, I think that those negative thoughts go away, right? Because I can surprise myself, and I can do it, right? With hard work, I can do it. That's what it kind of taught me.
Yeah, mine's similar. I think you reminded me that it's mental. So I'm somebody I'm a big overthinker, and I've always kind of been an anxious person. But those 4 years when I did that ride and the practice rides, you just it's kind of healing. And so what I learned about myself is that like a quiet mind and your phone put away is healthy. And even from 2010 to 2026, I mean the first few years it was okay with the phone, but then of course people became more addicted to their phones, and you could see certain riders did not like, they were hovering around a charger. But then and that was probably me for one of the years, I will admit. But I think that if I did it again today, I think I would just really embrace that, enjoy, like, yeah,
be present.
It's more. It becomes more and more comfortable to be in your own head on a ride like that, because you know there's people around you, like so yeah.
So what message do you want everyone that is watching this podcast to take away from your journey?
If you're wondering whether you should do it, not the ride, anything that you should do it. You should do it. Don't overthink it.
Sometimes being uncomfortable is okay, but you have to overcome that uncomfortableness and get into it. Like for me, I love biking. I'm not biking outside, but I love doing Peloton. I love going cycle classes now. That's like one of my favorite things. But so it transitioned from that to like an activity that I absolutely love. But had I not got into biking to start with, I probably would have never got into any of this, right? So that's something I love. I mean, we've done rides over here in wine country, right? And just done a nice little ride. And so like that,
we need to do that.
Something exactly, but something about like, you have to overcome the uncomfortableness, because it could get you into something that you really enjoy later. So that's really important. So don't be fearful of being uncomfortable. It's just overcoming that.
Yeah.
So now I want you to sum up your experience in one word or phrase.
The experience. Oh, you go first.
I was like, I have many words, but I can't do one word.
Three words.
I would say life changing. I'll give 2 words, because it really was something that. I mean, I even know, like, even on that last ride when we figured out that it was going to be canceled, like our friend from the UK, we are all like, oh, should we do it? Because that's something that changed our lives. We're friends for life now. We see Paula all the time. She was there at your 40th birthday, surprised you. Like, this is just, I mean, it really is like life changing. So that I'm so grateful for that ride for that reason.
Yeah. And I would say community. And the reason being, when you go through this ride, when I was a kid, I always watched that movie, A League of Their Own, with the girls' baseball team. And my brothers were into baseball, and we always used to watch it, because throughout that season, those girls got so close, doing an event that was hard, and they were made fun of at first, and then they won the world's, But at first it's hard, but then at the end, you have almost, and we both experienced it, when you have to go home to the other 51 weeks, there's like a hangover.
Yeah, you have like a little emotional sadness.
like the blues, like right.
That first year, Greg was like, "This is normal to me," because I didn't know that. Like,
yeah, I can imagine going back home and you are like,
oh, you're like, you're sad. You just built
and I
up
can
this
imagine that you're
community.
also processing, right?
Yeah.
Everything emotionally,
Yeah.
like.
Oh yeah.
and you kind of are like, "Why am I doing my day-to-day work? This is not important." You know,
Yeah,
you get
you
into
think
like
about
that mode. Yeah.
Give more perspective
But-
about life.
Yeah.
that is because both those last few days are just it's like you're on a high, like that last, and then you get off that bike and I think it usually it always ends on West Hollywood Pride or Los Angeles Pride. So
Yeah.
we usually plan a fun weekend. So you still go through that fun weekend, but when that fun stops,
Or like,
it's really time to face
the
your
day-to-day.
day to day. Yeah. But you come at it with a perspective, like it's probably better for your productivity at work because you're like, I'm going to focus on what's important here at work and not overthink every little thing.
Okay, so now to finish, something that I love to ask everyone. How do you want to be remembered? How do you want the people? What do you want to be your legacy?
My legacy.
And it's for both of you.
Yeah.
I would say not maybe related to the ride, but what the ride has helped me with is just be honest and fight for what is right, even if at first people make fun of you and roll their eyes, or say that you're too liberal or too this or too that. Like, no, if you're speaking the truth, if you're fighting for what's right, then you're going in the right direction.
Yeah, I just want to so I want to be remembered just as being someone who's a loving person, who's caring, and I like to have fun.
Be sure that both of your legacy it will happen, right? Because I know how caring you are, like how much do you want to have fun. But I also know Greg as a person that you are fighting for the things that you truly believe.
Yeah.
Like when I remember seeing posts and things from Greg, and I am like, I know that he's fighting for that because he truly believes about that. It's not just to be like, oh yeah, like a
Performative.
essence.
Yeah.
Okay, I really appreciate
Thanks.
your
That's great.
time, like getting to know. One of the things that I really love about the podcast, that every time that I interview someone, I get to know even more about that person.
Yeah.
And I think that even that we know each other since 2014, I think that with this conversation, I get to know you even more. And if I was really inspired and I really admire both of you, I admire both of you more after this interview. Honestly, completely transparent.
That's amazing.
I really admire you more right now because now it makes me to realize so much more about the journey.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that everyone that is watching the podcast is inspired, right? Like, thank you for sharing so much personal, right? So thank you so much.
Thanks, Linda.
Thanks for having us.
And everyone, remember, share this podcast with everyone, okay? So we can so more people can really get to know more about the wellness. So thank you so much and see you later.